item 4 in the name of Deputies Michael McNamara and Thomas Brohan. Proposals for the alignment of local government and local development. I call on the deputies, who have 2 minutes each.
Thank you, Deputy Flanagan. Minister Hogan. Minister, as you know, in October 2012, your department published the final report of the Local Government Local Development Alignment Steering Group. The conclusions contained in that report have very far-reaching implications for the future of local development across our state. Currently, the Clare Local Development Company employs 182 people on a wide range of programmes and schemes, including the LEADER programme, Local Community Development programme, local training initiatives, Rural Social Scheme, Community Employment Scheme, TOOS and Rural Recreation Project. And as I mentioned, TOOS, 100 people are employed or will be employed in the coming months under the TOOS scheme, which is one of the highest of any local authority area. The main recommendations of the local government steering group was the establishment of a social and economic committee in each local authority area, which in Clare would effectively, and in all counties, would effectively replace the local development company. Now, I can appreciate that social and economic committee is being set up to address a perceived democratic deficit in the decision-making process and to give democratic legitimacy to the decisions that are made and the dispersal of what are very, very, very large pots of funding. But the creation of a new quango won't automatically do that, and it's not at all clear from the recommendations of the steering group who will appoint that social and economic committee, or whether it will be comprised entirely of local representatives. If it's comprised entirely of local representatives, it runs into the problem that the body which administers LEADER funding has to be at least 51% from the social and from social groups rather than from local government. So if it's less than 50%, well, who's going to appoint the non-elected representatives? Effectively, the fear would be that the local development as it currently exists will be emasculated and brought under the control of county managers, while that might be advisable and indeed beneficial in certain areas. It certainly wouldn't be beneficial in all, and it would serve to emasculate local government. I look forward to your views on the matter, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy. I call on Minister Hogan to respond. The Minister has 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach, and I wish to thank Deputies McNamara and Brohan for putting down this particular question. It gives me an opportunity to clarify some of the fears that you may have, and I'm sure that I know very well that you've read the documentation in relation to the alignment in local government and community, and some of the fears should have already been allayed from that particular reading. Putting People First, an action programme for effective local government, sets out a range of reforms that will place local government at the heart of economic, social and community development locally. The programme includes proposals for enhancing alignment between local government and local and community development programmes and functions. Greater alignment is primarily about developing a partnership approach between the local government sector and the local development sector in the area of local community development programming to bring about more effective delivery of these services to our communities and citizens. I established an alignment steering group to study this area, and the group's report outlined a number of recommendations for bringing a more coherent approach to local service provision, with a more central role for local government in planning, decision-making and oversight of local development programmes. And you will know from some of the particular problems around the country on Mehel Forbert na Gaeltachta and Mayo North East Leader, there's a strong requirement for greater oversight in view of the fact that we have discovered a lot of irregularities in these particular companies. The steering group at that time acknowledged the key strengths of the local government sector, including the local knowledge and expertise that the sector has developed in local service planning and delivery. It also recognised that there are certain limitations to the current local development model. For example, there can be a considerable administrative burden. Some companies, in terms of their the amount of money they spend in administration, some of them are 15% of the total fund, others can be 30%. There is a potential for duplication and overlap because of the complexity of the local development landscape, the many different funding and reporting arrangements, the demands and hidden costs associated with the requirement on various stakeholders to participate in multiple boards and structures at local level. I'm glad to tell Deputies McNamara and Brohan that local development companies will be key players in the loose structures going forward. They will be a key partner on the socio-economic committees and will also continue to implement the programmes on the ground using the bottom-up approach. None of us should expect autonomy, however, because our citizens want to know where their hard-earned money goes, and they want a say in how it is spent. The alignment process presents us with an opportunity to provide more meaningful impacts for our communities, especially when resources are scarce and likely to be more scarce, particularly in the rural development programme. I am confident that both sectors can work in partnership in a way that builds trust and respect between them to deliver efficient, sustainable, joined-up and easy-to-access services for our communities.
Call on Deputy McNamara, who has 1 minute.
Well, thank you very much, Minister, for the reply. You mentioned a number of local development companies which are indeed in trouble. I suppose it's important to point out that Clare was not among them. Clare is one of the more successful ones, but I do appreciate that there are companies throughout Ireland, and we have to legislate for the entire state, not just one county. On the other hand, both the European Commission and the Court of Auditors have shown that local development programmes run by local authorities in other member states have performed poorly, and indeed the Irish model of local development companies has been favoured by the European Commission. With that in mind, I'm very glad to hear, Minister, that you propose to give the local development companies a role, and an important role in this, both in the implementation but also on the boards of the new committees which will be established. But I suppose there is a fear that they will have just a token representation of perhaps one member on the board. And essentially, Minister, I suppose what we need is a greater amount of information on what the role of the board will be, and even more importantly, who will comprise that board, whether it will effectively be in the power of the county managers. And of course, putting people first, the entire thrust of that is to give powers back to elected representatives and to restore the county manager to a chief executive position, rather than being effectively the power behind the throne, which they are very much at the moment in Ireland, with the power of elected representatives very much emasculated. So thank you, but thank you for the clarifications that you have provided.
Deputy, I call on Minister Hogan to respond.
I can always rely on Deputy Broome for the easy way out. To transfer 19, I can always rely on you for an easy way out. Just transfer the 1,968 staff is what we have to be transferred to local authorities. I have no intention of doing that. I don't think the taxpayer has any intention of doing it either. The document that I published some time ago on local government will position local government with the overall responsibility, not the dead hand that you quite, maybe, I don't know, maybe you had a bad experience yourself with local authorities, but I have to say that local authorities, certainly with the powers that we envisage in giving them and the level of proactivity and accountability we expect of them, I think that we will not see any dead hand flourishing in local government in the future, and we want to see the same happening on the community side. Local authorities will have a central role in the oversight and planning of local and community development programming. We'll have a democratic input for the first time in relation to these matters in terms of how money are spent in our community. The Alignment Steering Group recommended very clearly that the bottom-up approach should be embedded as an integral part of this planning and decision-making, and I support that. I met the ILDN in recent days to discuss the issues in advance of the lobby session with Oireachtas members, and we had 9 items on the agenda and we agreed 8 of them. So we have made a lot of progress, even in that meeting, and we have agreed to meet again at the end of February. So for reasons, that I don't understand, maybe there are fears being generated that are not needed to be, maybe there's misunderstandings for people, perhaps sometimes motivated by others other than themselves, but I want to assure people that I will be taking a proactive approach in making sure that we have a good partnership between local government and the community. Our approach has the support of the European Commission, contrary to what you might have been told. Secondly, the Irish model is unique in relation to how we do our business and community-led approach here. We're the only country in the European Union that has this approach, so it's bound to be unique. The European Court of Auditors didn't single us out for any special mention, contrary to what you might have been told, because we are the only model of the private company approach that we have here in this country. All the other European countries talk about a partnership and have a structure in place that has a partnership between local government and the community. All monies in any future programme, and we don't know, Deputy Broome, what we will have in the next round, because we haven't agreement on the European budget yet, which we will have in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Then we will know what the level of funding will be, but all the indications are it will be less. But any monies that we get for this new structure will be ring-fenced for community-led development, whether it's rural or urban areas. And I want to assure you of that. So the community-led approach is alive and well, and it will be alive and well, but there will be a democratic input as well on this occasion to any new programmes from 2014 to 2020.